Guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
The new EU-UK deal. Historic reset or total flop?
Monday, Britain rolled out the red carpet. Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed top EU leaders, Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa, for the first UK-EU summit since Brexit. They were locked in late-night talks, hammering out a deal that touches everything, from fishing to border checks, defense, climate, and even youth mobility. So what's actually in the deal? Who's
Only youth mobility? Elderly cannot move? Uh-oh.
cheering it? And who is furious? And is this deal really any good? Let's break it all down. The deal covers a whole range of areas, starting with fishing. Before Brexit, EU boats could fish in UK.
To be fair though, UK is busy cutting these deals with everybody. Gotta deal with this with Trump, now with the UK. I mean, seems like they're doing pretty good in terms of, being active, proactive at least.
Waters, and British boats could do the same across Europe. It was all part of a shared system with very strict quotas to prevent overfishing. But that changed after Brexit. Under the 2020 deal, the EU agreed to gradually cut its share of the catch in UK waters by 25%, with the option for the UK to kick EU boats out entirely by 2026. Now though, that's off the table. Under this new agreement, EU boats can keep fishing in UK waters until 2038, but the 25% reduction stays in place. And while fishing only makes up about 0.04% of the UK's economy, it remains such a politically charged issue, especially in coastal and
Wow.
rural areas, where it's seen as a
Wow.
matter of national sovereignty.
That's interesting because we see similar in Norway. That's like one of the reasons why Norway don't want to join EU. I believe, when we did that Norwegian reaction about them joining EU, is that the fishing rights. Oh, so interesting.
Next up is food. And this part feels a bit like quid pro quo. The EU has provisionally agreed to simplify checks on agricultural products, including food and live animals. In practice, this means fewer routine border checks for things like meat, dairy, and plants moving between the UK and the EU. And that matters. In 2023 alone, the UK exported £14 billion worth of food and drink to the EU. That's over half of the sector's global exports. In exchange, the UK would have to allow future EU food rules. And if there's ever a dispute, it'll be settled in the European Court of Justice, something Brexiteers definitely won't like. But it's not a done deal yet though. The official EU statement only says that both sides will work towards an agreement, meaning this part is still under negotiation. So let's put it into a new in
if they
negotiation
were still
column.
able to move food, why do they have to make a new deal? Are they seeking to
I guess there's it's kind of slow, a lot of border checks and inspections and everything, trying to kind of streamline it, which is this is kind of interesting because here in the States you cannot bring livestock, plants, like fresh foods to not bring bacteria in, or not bacteria, like insects, like just foreign animals for to the what do you call flora, yeah, to our native flora here. But in UK, it's been part of Europe, part of EU, so every flora is the same, fauna
Yeah.
is the same.
I guess they're
What
just following protocol and treating it like a new person.
like you've been importing that food, so you have the same insects, the same everything. So why now? Oh, we exited, so now we have to inspect to make sure you're not bringing nothing. Like, man, you have the same thing.
I feel like it's kind of like to
Those-
kind of scratch them a little bit.
Seems
to,
like it.
so they can feel it a little bit. See, you're not part of family, no family benefits.
I see that. Yeah.
And third, we have the Security and Defense Partnership. This is all a bit vague, to be honest. The official language says this new partnership is a framework for dialogue and cooperation, which sounds more like a promise to talk than a plan to act. The idea is to boost EU-UK coordination on things like supporting Ukraine and a whole bunch of other joint defense efforts, all listed on the screen right now. One interesting detail, though, is that the UK and the EU want to swiftly explore ways for British defense companies to join the EU's €150 billion defense fund, also known as
they wanna
SAFE.
cash
It's a
in.
loan system for EU countries to buy military gear, potentially even UK-made weapons. But for now, it's just an open door, not a signed deal, so it goes into the negotiation column. Now, to be totally honest with you, only two parts of the deal are fully agreed right now: fishing and the new security and defense partnership. Simplified food checks seems to be close, but still needs to be signed off. Beyond that though, the official document mentions a lot of other ideas, but they're a bit vague, half-formed, or still up in the air. First up, we have e-gates. Brits might be able to use them again at some EU airports, but the text only says potential use where appropriate, so we don't know where or if it will even happen. Then there's youth mobility. The idea is to let young people live, work, and study more easily between the UK and the EU. Sounds super promising, but there are no details yet. There's also a line about more information sharing on crime, drugs, and terrorism, but it's so light on detail, and there's no sign of real talks happening, so probably more of a placeholder than an actual.
That's just so weird to me. Like, they had all this, they cut it off. Like, I get cutting off, like the immigration, so now need to check, get a permit to live if you want, all that. Okay, I get that. But like, info exchange, so you stopped exchanging about like crime, terrorism, you stopped exchanging that info just because you left the, like, it's not like you became enemies.
Yeah, but it's like maintaining state sovereignty. They don't want to rely on one another for like information, so it's like a sense of control.
But you're still allies, though. You're not.
Yeah,
You're
but
not like.
just because you're allies with someone doesn't mean you don't make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's.
Plan. So
So
let's
you could be
create a
taken
new
seriously.
exploration column. And finally, there's general talk of more cooperation on stuff like irregular migration and maritime security. But here there are no concrete agreements once again, but focus on more dialogue. For us, that will go into a new more cooperation column. Now, a whole lot more was discussed that we won't cover in this video. And as you can see on the screen, we've sorted everything into columns based on how far along it actually is. Some things are agreed, some are in negotiation, and some are just pretty vague. Most of this will probably be hammered out over the coming months and years in regular high-level UK-EU summits, which, by the way, seems to be part of the deal. So let's drop that into the agreement column too. So there you have it. It doesn't really seem like a groundbreaking deal, does it? But before we go to my opinion, let's see the reactions first. In the UK, Starmer says it's a massive win. He posted a 10-point list on X, claiming it will lower food prices, cut energy bills, save jobs, and boost security. But the critics weren't impressed. Conservative opposition leader Kemi Badenoch warned that the UK is becoming a rule taker again, especially worried about EU boats staying in British waters. Nigel Farage from Reform UK went full-blown apocalyptic, calling it the end of the fishing industry. Meanwhile, Liberal Democrats leader Ed Davey mocked the critics, saying they're stuck in the past and that the country has moved on. In the EU leaders are treating the deal as a positive turning point. Von der Leyen and Costa praised the UK for taking a more cooperative tone and focusing on shared interests like trade, climate, and security. It's seen as a chance to rebuild trust after years of tense Brexit arguments. Now here's what I think. Let's start with the good. The UK and the EU are finally talking again. That alone is a massive win. And a formal deal on defense and security.
Yeah, that's how I see it. I see that, the fact that the UK is willing to come and work now, it's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. Now, was a lot accomplished based on this video? Seems like not really.
Yeah.
They only talked about fishing basically, and that's it. But, well, fishing and security. But at least, we're talking now, so, we can start working together.
That's important too. We should be doing
It's
more
like,
together.
there's a breakup and there's a no contact rule, and then this is how they kind of somewhat breaking the no contact rule.
Yeah, like, like the time passes, you kind of move on to the new
Yeah.
relationships, and now you
Yeah.
can talk. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, this is it.
Together to defend our continent. But here's the problem. This deal is not a game changer. Far from it. And that wouldn't be an issue if this were a clear first step towards something bigger, a long-term vision. But there's no real sign of that. What's missing is ambition. We need a proper economic roadmap, one that gets the UK and the EU trading properly again, without barriers. That could mean a customs union, parts of a single market, or something like an EFTA-style model, something that respects labor's red lines, but actually moves things forward. We made a video about this in the link above if you're interested. And while we're at it, why not set a longer-term goal of bringing the Western Balkans and Ukraine into the single market? That would do so much more for our economies than the agreed plan today. Same goes for defense. Yes, great, we have a pact. But what is the end game? Why aren't we talking about having British, Turkish, and German troops stationed together in the Baltics for real deterrence? And what about nuclear deterrence?
Yes, I'm all for that, but I'm biased, so don't take my word for it.
Are we going to talk about that? And why no roadmap for integrating Ukraine into a future European defense structure? All of these points on this timeline could be tied to a broader story of European autonomy and independence, especially now with the war in Ukraine still raging and Trump in the White House. But instead, both sides are still stuck arguing about fishing. Fishing is not going to shape the future of Europe, guys. Anyway, that is my take, and
I think fishing, it seems like it to me, fishing is the abortion of America. Because, like, here in the States, abortion affects so few people, but it's such a big topic. Like, holy shit, the whole election was about abortion. Like, no matter what you believe, which way, it's still like it's likely not even gonna affect you, but it's such a passionate topic. Seems the same with fishing. It's like affects such a small population of people that are fishermen, yeah, sure, but this is such a tiny population size, but such a hot topic, and it seems just blown out of proportion, and it's just that's what it seems like to me, at least. I don't know.
Can I see the comments?
Yeah. The definition of stubbornness. They are regretting it already. They just don't want to say it. Of course, yeah, you definitely can see that.
Oh yeah.
UK is too proud to admit that UK breast. Duh. Fascinating how some Brits still care more about their fish than about their.
They kind of have to make face too as well.
It's a tough position to be in. You have to kind of, as a politician, you have to be like please everybody, and you can't please everybody. It's an impossible task. Yeah.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.